Welcome to the reading of the Sabbath School lesson for the second quarter of 2022. Welcome to Lesson 1 from the series on Genesis, titled The Creation. This lesson is ready for teaching on April 2, and my name's Percy Harrold. Wednesday, March 30. The Creation of Humanity. The creation of humans is God's last act of creation, at least in the Genesis account. Humans are the culmination of the whole earthly creation, the purpose for which the earth was made. Read Genesis chapter 1, verses 26 to 29, and chapter 2, verse 7. What is the connection between these two different versions in regard to the creation of humanity? Genesis 1, beginning at verse 26, Then God said, Let us make man in our image, according to our likeness. Let them have dominion over the fish of the sea, over the birds of the air, and over the cattle, over all the earth, and over every creeping thing that creeps on the earth. So God created man in his own image. In the image of God he created him, male and female he created them. Then God blessed them, and God said to them, Be fruitful and multiply, fill the earth and subdue it, have dominion over the fish of the sea, over the birds of the air, and over every living thing that moves on the earth. And God said, See, I have given you every herb that yields seed, which is on the face of all the earth, and every tree whose fruit yields seed. To you it shall be for food. And Genesis chapter 2 and verse 7. And the Lord God formed man of the dust of the ground, and breathed into his nostrils the breath of life, and man became a living being. That God has created humans in his image is one of the boldest statements of the Bible. Only humans have been created in the image of God, though, as it says in 1:25, God made the beast of the earth according to its kind, and in chapter 1, verse 27, God created man in his own image. This formula has often been limited to the spiritual nature of humans, which is interpreted to mean that the image of God is understood to signify only the administrative function of representing God, or the spiritual function of relationship with God or with each other. While these understandings are correct, they fail to include the important physical reality of this creation. Both dimensions are indeed included in the two words image and likeness, describing this process in Genesis 1:26. While the Hebrew word tselem, T-S-E-L-E-M, or image, refers to the concrete shape of the physical body, the word demut, D-E-M-U-T, likeness, refers to abstract qualities that are comparable to the divine person. Therefore, the Hebrew nation of the image of God should be understood in the holistic sense of the biblical view of human nature. The biblical text affirms that human individuals, men and women, have been created in God's image physically as well as spiritually. As Ellen G. White clearly comments in Education, page 15, when Adam came from the Creator's hand, he bore in his physical, mental, and spiritual nature a likeness to his Maker. In fact, this holistic understanding of the image of God, including the physical body, is reaffirmed in the other creation account, which says that man became a living being in Genesis 2:7, literally a living soul, nephesh, N-E-F-E-S-H, as the result of two divine operations. God formed and God breathed. Note that the breath often refers to the spiritual dimension, but it also is closely tied to the biological capacity for breathing, the part of the man that was formed of the dust of the ground. It is the breath of life, that is, breath spiritual and life physical. God will later perform a third operation, this time to create the woman from the body of the man in Genesis 2:21-22, a way to emphasize that she is of the same nature as the man. And that reads Genesis 2, beginning at verse 21. And the Lord God caused a deep sleep to fall on Adam, and he slept. And he took one of his ribs, and closed up the flesh in its place. Then the rib which the Lord God had taken from man he made into a woman, and he brought her to the man. This lesson was read by Dr. Percy Harrold for Christian Services for the Blind. Sponsored by the Sabbath School Department and distributed through Hope Channel Australia, this podcast is also redistributed by Hope Channel Germany, Christian Record Services for the Blind, and It Is Written. It is also available on SoundCloud and through multiple podcast distributors, including Apple iTunes. Remember, God is always faithful.